Hey friend, before we dive into today's episode, I want to personally invite you to the virtual launch party for my debut novel, Finding Forevermore. It's going to be an unforgettable night filled with cozy fall vibes, behind the scene chats about the story, trivia games, and tons of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win amazing prizes, including bookish bundles and lots of giveaways throughout the event. It's November 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube Live, so save the date. It's completely free to attend, and I'd love for you to be part of the celebration. Just head to kellyjowilson.com/party and tap the bell to get notified when we go live. That's kellyjowilson.com/party. I can't wait to see you there. Now, on to the episode. Welcome to the Christian Romance Podcast, where we go behind the books with inspiring Christian romance authors, exploring faith, love, and the journey that brings the story to life. I'm your host, Kelly Jo Wilson, and today we're chatting with Connilyn Cossette. Connilyn is a Christy Award winning and best-selling author known for her captivating biblical-era novels that bring scripture to life. A recent breast cancer survivor and adoptive mom of her two greatest gifts, she lives just south of Dallas, Texas, where she continues to write stories that invite readers deeper into the Word and closer to the great storyteller himself. Be sure to listen until the end so you can learn how to enter our latest book giveaway. Now, here's my conversation with Connilyn. Hi, Connilyn. I am so happy to have you on the Christian Romance Podcast today. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, I am delighted, Kelly. It's so fun to talk to you.
Yes. I am so happy we got a little bit of time to chat beforehand. And I just can't wait to learn more about your author journey and, of course, about this wonderful story. So, why don't you just start by letting our listeners know just more about you, how you started your author journey, how you became an author, and then what kind of stories you like to write?
Well, I became an author, I guess it's been almost 10 years is when my first book was published, but I didn't start writing actually, like seriously writing, other than like terrible poems and things like that, until I was 35. But even though I wanted to be a writer my whole life, that was like my dream. Like, when somebody would ask you if money was no object, what would you be? And I was always like, I want to be a writer. But I didn't have a story, and I didn't have the confidence in myself or my skills. So it wasn't until I was just doing some like research on my own about the Bible and trying to understand the Old Testament and the ties between the Christ in the Old Testament and the New Testament and all those historical contexts, because I'm a history nerd, and so I love to like dig down and follow all the rabbit trails. So I was just kind of studying on my own, and I was learning about the Exodus, and I saw the line that says, a mixed multitude went up with the Hebrews out of Egypt. And I started to like think about that and just kind of stew on it. And who were these people and why would they leave Egypt? And that's how my first story came about, was just out of my own curiosity. So it took me 5 years actually to write that book, because I didn't have any idea how to write a book. And so I was not only learning about ancient Egypt and ancient Israel, I was learning about how to write a book, how to plot, how to do characters, and all of that stuff. And then publication on top of that and all the things. So I felt like I was drinking from a fire hose most of the time, but it took me a long time. And then I ended up winning a contest called the Fraser Contest. And out of that came my literary agent. And yeah, the rest is history. So it was a pretty crazy ride. It was cool because like I think that the Lord knew the right time, and he knew exactly that if I had to wait much longer, I probably would have given up. So when it happened, it was like boom, 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 it happened. So it was pretty cool.
That is
So yeah,
pretty cool.
so I write biblical fiction. I didn't set out to write biblical fiction. It wasn't what I thought, oh, I'm going to write a biblical fiction book. It was just kind of what came out of my own research, and now I have all these lovely ideas just popping out that are from the biblical era. So Yeah.
I
Good.
I love how you say biblical era too. Like we chatted beforehand about how you say biblical era fiction because it's really it is fictional stories of how, the people during those times may have experienced things. But we know that a lot, I mean, there's so much truth, right? Because we have the Bible to show us those stories.
I always try and keep the Bible as my foundation. That doesn't change, but most of my characters are fictional. I do have some cameos of different characters once in a while from the Bible, but it's usually pretty short. And because it just gives, it's really just because it gives me so much more room to make up my own stories and do my own thing and not have to follow timeline.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun to make up my own characters and think about, well, what were they experiencing if they were watching, the Red Sea being parted, or, Saul being crowned king? What would go on in their minds?
Oh yeah, and it's so fun to think about that, especially from the women's point of view. Like you did a lot of your stories are about the women in those times. And I just love that because one of my favorite things to even think about, because some people may think that the women are oppressed, very oppressed in a lot of those like biblical era times, which because they didn't, they weren't, or it may seem like they didn't have a lot of freedoms. However, Jesus, especially when Jesus came, he was so different with the women. He was so like the first person that he went to when he
Exactly.
rose again from the dead was a woman. And I just love that. I love that so much. And they also were so faithful, like staying with him with his mom and being, not scattering like the scattered sheep of the disciples. So I love that you do
Yeah.
that you bring life to the women in the stories.
Yeah, and I love to dig into the fact that, you know, the world that they lived in is not Western society. It's not what we understand. It's not, we're looking back at the past through a lot of filters. They were in a very tribalistic, dangerous society where there was no, constitution protecting their rights or anything else. And so a lot of God's law is for the protection of women and children. And so I try and bring that out as I'm writing my stories and showing that God cared for the women. He wanted them protected. And so a lot of that we may look at it and think, "Oh, that's oppressive," was really for protection.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that you say that because it's very true. And you can tell, like you said, I mean, it was a completely different time, and most of that, I mean, I can't even imagine the fear day to day,
Yeah.
just of everything. I mean, even like natural disasters, different
Yeah.
things that can happen, that and then looking at our life today, we have so many different things in just like a typical kind of everyday life. Working, spouses, like even two adults working in the home, and then you have those that are blessed enough to have like a home with regular electricity and running
Yeah.
water, like
Yeah.
a hot shower, like that's crazy. It's crazy. They would have never even thought about that in
Yeah.
those days. So those are definitely some things I think it's so easy to overlook. Like you said, a different filter looking back.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it's wonderful. And congrats to you. Even if it took you 5 years, that is short when it comes to learning all of that, because it really is like drinking from a fire hose to
Oh,
learn all the publishing.
absolutely.
There are so many wonderful resources out there. And I love that because I'm familiar with the Fraser Award because I'm also a member of the My Book Therapy group and I just
Yeah. Oh, I
love
learned
them.
so much from
Oh,
Steadfast.
I honestly, they are an absolute gift and a blessing to so many people. I don't even know if I would be able to do this without their tools and their support and all of that. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and
But
especially in those early days, I was on
mhm.
those websites all the time trying to figure it out because, like you said, it's so much coming at you. I felt like I gave myself like a bachelor's degree in writing, just learning myself with all the books and all the things I read. I'm sure I did, and and so much conflicting information,
Yep.
because you have some people say, oh, you need to do it this way and you need to plot this way. And some people are like, oh, throw out the plot and just follow whatever. So it takes a while to kind of figure out what works for you. You know, Maybe it doesn't work for anybody else, but it works for you. And so, yeah, it was
Oh
fun.
yeah, for sure. 100%. But I just love that group. I feel like they have like tools for every kind of reader. And it is neat once you find your voice too, because you're like, I don't know how I'm gonna, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Cause I'm like starting out, like, I don't know if I have a voice, but I
Oh, you do.
starting to
Everybody has
find
a
it.
voice. You just have to trust it.
Yeah.
That's what I learned. You have to trust that you do have a voice, and it will come out when you have the right story. It will come out.
Oh, that is such a wonderful encouragement because there's a lot of authors too that listen to the podcast as well. So that's very encouraging. I'm sure somebody out there today needed to hear that for sure. I know it's inspiring to me because I'm like, where's my voice? And it's funny too. So do you find that when you're doing your research, especially like through the Bible, like it's so interwoven into these stories? It's just so different co-creating with God, right? Do you feel like sometimes he's twisting what's going to happen a little bit?
Oh,
Is he getting you with the plot twists?
I think so. I do whenever I walk, I swear it's like the Lord sometimes will download things into I should walk more, huh? I don't know. But yeah, there have been times when I'm riding away and it feels like, nope, this is the way this is supposed to go. And it's not inspired scripture, but who knows what God's doing in my head. It's wonderful to be able to write something that I hope will glorify him and will help other people understand who God is and what his character is and how beautiful his laws are, and the beautiful ways that he tied everything together from the very first page of Genesis to the last page of Revelation. Everything is so interwoven, and so that's fun for me to search those things out and try and weave those into my stories too.
Oh yeah, it is so amazing how he ties so many things together that you never would think, and it's just such a wonderful mystery in a way to discover while you're reading and spending time with him and then reading through the stories. And I love stories like the stories that you write because so many people, a lot of people may not open the Bible, but they may say, I want to know more about this character, or I want to know more about this time period, especially
That
other
is my
people.
goal. That
Yeah.
is my goal. If I can get one person to put my book down and go pick up the word of God and go, I want to know more about this, then I have done my job. Even if they never read another one of my books, if they go to the word of God and dig deeper and study more, I mean, that's really a passion of mine, especially women. I want women to really study the Bible for themselves and really understand. And so, um, yeah, that's just a wonderful part of my job, is being able to let the Lord use me in that way. It's so cool when I have people tell me that they've seen something in one of my books that I didn't even plan, and I just feel like the Lord's using my words and my faulty human words. He's using to reach people all over the world, which is crazy.
It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And I love it too that he is working at such a wonderful purpose through you because it really, so many authors, and it's just such an honor to even to interview authors like yourself and hear that because it is such a wonderful witness to how he really uses us, right? Everyday people doing this work,
Absolutely.
listening, trying to be obedient to him. And that is such a common theme that I didn't like so many authors ago. I didn't even put that in there. Like I didn't
Yeah.
even know that that's where that was going or something like
Yeah.
that. Like the way that it's like such a living word. And that's how what the Bible is. I mean, it's such a living word, but that's really just through the Holy Spirit. It's just so neat.
I always pray whenever I submit a manuscript. I always pray that the Lord will just make up the difference for what I lack and that he'll use my words and, do things with them that I never imagined, which he always does.
It's wonderful. And he always does for sure. And I love that you have readers reach out to you because that is just the best. So
It is. It's
yes,
my
readers
favorite
listening,
thing.
yes, reach out to your authors, tell
Yes,
them.
please. We love those notes. Absolutely.
Yes, it's what fuel. I mean, because you're writing to them, right? You're thinking of them whenever you're going through all these lessons and book publishing and
Yeah.
marketing and all that. It's all for you. It's all for you. So reach out. I love it. Well, I want to hear so much about this story. So this story that we're going to be talking about today, Splendor of the Land, is book 3, right? In the
Book 3.
Kingsmen series. So
That's correct.
why don't you start just by letting us know a little bit of the setting of this series, and then we'll get into the story, like your hero and your heroine.
Okay. So this series takes place right after Saul has been crowned king. In fact, the prologue takes place on that day when Saul is crowned king. And if you remember, he goes and he hides in the luggage and while we're casting the lots. And so the prologue of the very first book opens up that way. In fact, the prologues of the first, second, and third book, all 3 of those are different perspectives of that day. And so it's really fun to see their different perspectives on who Saul was. They were all very excited because, yay, they finally had a king, and Israel was so ready to have, a strong, handsome leader that was super tall and, intimidating to the nations around them. They were so excited. And to see what happens over time, that's kind of why I did this series. I thought it would be fun to just kind of slow down. We kind of always skim over Saul. We're like, okay, we would go over Saul because, he's a bad guy. And then we move on to David because it's David. But I wanted to slow down and think about what would have it been like in the tribes of Israel. They've been just tribes doing their own thing for 400 years. But I don't think we think about that. It's been 400 years. And they are governing themselves. They're living in various parts of the country. A lot of them probably with no contact. And now they have a king, and he's the one that's telling them what to do. And so I thought it'd be so fun to just kind of see what the political kind of struggle would be like and the tension would be like. And in the Bible it says all Israel did this, all Israel. But if you dig a little deeper, you see that, yeah, maybe a lot of Israel was all in for Saul, but a lot of them weren't because things broke down very quickly. So over this series, it's been fun to see how their perspective changes, my characters, how their perspective changes about Saul and how he changes as he kind of devolves into, really impulsive. And so I these 4 cousins that are the 4 books that I'm writing um run off to go fight for King Saul, but only one of them is of age. The rest of them do not belong there at all. 2 of them are Levites who are not allowed to even fight. And so they go run away from home basically, and one of them goes missing. So that creates a whole storm, a lot of frustration and blaming each other for certain things. And so they kind of go their own ways. And so each of them is going to have a perspective about what's going on in their life. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so exciting. It really does. And how neat is it to have the prologue, like have the different perspectives of the same situation? I think that is so awesome. It
That's
is
been
so
really fun to
clever.
think about. Yep.
Oh,
And
that
this
is,
this third book is from Gavriel's point of view, and he is a pretty rebellious. So it's really fun. It was fun to think about what he would be doing in the middle of all of that, and how he would respond to King Saul's mighty men.
that is pretty cool. It's so funny. I was just reading a little bit about King Saul. Was he tall?
He
Did
was a It says in the Bible he was a head taller than anyone else around him.
Oh my gosh.
So
That
he
is
was
so
very, very tall,
crazy.
which I would assume Jonathan was pretty tall too, because,
Yeah.
and then he was one of the most handsome men. So that was important, was having the biggest, strongest, most handsome man as your king, not necessarily the best guy
Yeah,
of a
that is
job.
funny. That is so
Yep.
funny because that makes me think of how like people like celebrities in a way, right? Because they're
Yep.
always like good looking
Oh,
and they're
yes.
yeah, they're like beloved, but they don't, just because they're good looking and they're beloved by people maybe or they
Yeah,
seem like that they're good looking in that way, they might not be the best choice. That
exactly.
is so funny that I didn't realize he was tall like that. So many neat little details like that, but I love that you have this different perspective in all these stories. So in this, so it's Gavriel's point of view, right? So
Yeah.
is Gavriel, he is the hero then?
He is the hero. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. He's the third cousin.
And he is, so is he going to, so first of all, how you mentioned about the Levites. So the Levites, isn't that the priestly line? Like that, is that why they weren't allowed to fight?
Yep. They
Oh,
weren't
okay.
allowed to go to war, and they weren't even allowed to learn how to like use a sword and things like that. It was just forbidden. They were there. They were holy, consecrated, set apart for teaching, for working within the temple, and those kind of things. So they were supposed to be completely consecrated, and so they could not go out to war.
Wow, that creates so much tension, especially if they're young, they don't know any better. They just want to
Mhm.
go and fight, you
They're
know.
boys. They're
Oh,
teenage boys, and they think, "Wow, let's go fight war." And I have them like fighting together and playing swords, and it's a lot of fun. So
it sounds a lot of fun. Oh my goodness.
yeah. I actually wrote, I have a novella that goes with each one of these books, and it takes place when they were boys. So it was really fun to have them playing war and battle when they were boys and having little adventures. And so I've gotten to really know these boys over a long period of time.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute. I love that. I love that, especially for readers too, to have that little extra insight. I feel like novellas and like short stories, it's always so fun because as soon as you're done reading the story, you're like, wait, I want to know more. I want to know more
Yeah,
about these characters,
yeah, yeah.
especially you spend so much time with them and then you want to see what happens, or even the prequel, like when they were young. Oh yeah, that is super fun. So tell us about Zahava. How does she come into play
Okay.
with Gavriel?
Well,
Obviously, no
Gabrielle,
spoilers, but
yeah,
we love the
I'll try my
romance.
best to not give you spoilers. Gavriel, and people who've read the first two books will remember that Gavriel is a mess. He's been a mess for the first. In fact, I've had people say to me, "I didn't really like Gavriel in the first two books." Well, you know what? He's been a mess. He's made some bad choices, and he's got some pretty deep wounds that we don't really know much about yet. And he makes a really bad decision in the first chapter of this book. And because of that, Jonathan says, "You're out of here."
Mm.
And he's begging, "Please don't send me away. Please don't send me away." So he's like, "All right, I'll go send you down to where they're going to go to war with the Amalekites, because God had told Saul, as he had told other people like Joshua, get rid of the Amalekites.
Mm.
I don't want them anywhere in the land." So he tells Saul, go, and through Samuel, tells Saul to go and get rid of the Amalekites. But there was a tribe that was living with the Amalekites, or at least in this area, they were living with the Amalekites. So they were intermingled, and they were called the Kenites. The Kenites were friends of Israel. So they had done, especially when they first came out of Egypt, they helped them along the way. So there was some sort of good relationship there. So God said to give them a chance to separate themselves away from the Amalekites so that they didn't get destroyed like Amalek would.
Mm.
So Gabriel gets sent to help move the Kenites away from the Amalekites. And so Zahava is a Kenite. And the Kenite people were metal workers. And so I thought it would be so much fun because Gabrielle likes to make weapons. Zahava is a goldsmith. She makes jewelry. But because she's a woman, she does it in secret.
Mm.
And so they have, let's say they have a run-in. I'll just leave it at that. They have a run-in. Their lives end up all tangled together, and yeah, adventures start from there.
Oh, I love it. I love the romance on like the adventure. And of course, the run-in, I know you have to leave that hook, but it's of
Yeah,
course hooking everyone now. They're like, what is
yeah.
this run-in?
Well, we'll
Oh,
just say there's a lot of forced proximity in this book.
yes, we love it. We love that's what
Yeah,
I was gonna ask you too about the
yeah,
tropes. Forced
yep.
proximity.
Forced proximity.
And what else? There's a forced marriage, you
There's a
said, right?
forced marriage in this book. Yes.
Mm.
So we'll see what happens.
Yes, yes. There's a lot of readers and listeners that like that marriage of convenience, but the forced marriage is a little different because the marriage of convenience would be, where both parties would have a little bit of like they would gain something, right? But the
Have a
forced
say.
marriage is like,
Yeah.
oh, they have to just do
Yep.
it and be quiet about it kind of thing.
They are without a choice in this instance. So,
Mm. Well, that is fun though too, because I just love all these tropes. I just love them all. And then the wounded hero trope you had mentioned.
wounded hero, he's very wounded. But what's lovely about that is I was able to write a beautiful redemption arc for Gabrielle.
Mm,
He's made some really bad choices in his life. He has just been stupid. And so to build that character arc, we see him go from a mess to being a real hero and being a strong, protective man who will lay it all down for the woman that he loves and for the people that he loves.
I love that. I love that. We all need that. We love the good redemption story because we all need the being redeemed,
We
right?
do. That's
Praise
for sure.
Jesus.
Right.
We're all a mess.
That's right. We're all Gabby.
We're all Gabby. Exactly. We are all him. So for sure. Um, well, we are almost at time, Connilyn, but I wanted to ask you, especially because of the type of biblical era fiction that you write. Was there a certain verse that really kind of sat with you with your heart with this book, or even just like just in your personal life, something that has really kind of encouraged you along the way, especially like your author
Yeah.
journey?
This the verse that really has been on my heart for the past year and a half, I would say, is Psalm 63:3, which is because your steadfast love is better than life, my lips will praise you.
Hmm.
And the reason why the Psalms in general is so precious to me is because I walked through breast cancer.
Hmm.
And while I was doing that, I really felt the Lord telling me to just bathe in the Psalms.
Hmm.
So I began to read every day, reading the Psalms, reading the Psalms. And when I was probably about, I don't know, 30 days into that, I started seeing the word steadfast love
Hmm.
over and over and over. And I was like, okay, the Lord wants me to hear this. So I went back to the beginning and I began to underline every time the word steadfast came up. And he told me, I am here. I am with you every moment through every chemotherapy appointment, through every radiation appointment. I'm here with you through every surgery. And he did. He just held me up. And so that has really kind of been a theme with all of these books is his steadfast love in that, it doesn't matter what kind of brokenness we have. He loves us, he sees us, he calls us by name, and we are so precious to him. And so in this book, especially, you see Zahava being called by name and drawn to his heart. And I came up with a song that her mother sang to her in this
Hmm.
book that I just love, and that really kind of displays that steadfast love.
Oh my gosh. I got chills while you were talking about that. That is
Oh,
just beautiful. And I'm so sorry that you had to walk through that. I know how difficult that is. We chatted a little bit before we started recording, and I just love that you came on the other side of that. Praise
absolutely.
Jesus, you are cancer free. And that is just
Absolutely.
absolutely
Yep. And
wonderful.
like I told you, I have Psalm 63:3 tattooed right here above my port scar. So I have that with me all the time as a reminder of God's steadfast love through all of that.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. What a wonderful picture of having this song and the story. Oh, girl, that is a cry moment. I feel like whenever you come to the song of, like I just know it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna cry on that moment. But it's
Well, then
so
I've done my
true.
job. And
Yes.
when I cry, when I'm crying and I'm writing it, then I know my readers are going to cry. So I would say maybe get some tissues.
For sure, for sure. Oh my goodness, with this song, that'll get me. But that steadfast, that word, I will say that there's something just wonderful to picture God being so steadfast. One of the verses that has always spoke to me too, that's so weird that you said steadfast, is 1 Corinthians 15:58, where he says it's a steadfast, immovable work of the Lord. Like immovable, especially whenever going through a cancer journey, it's like everything is falling apart. It can feel like you have no control. You have no idea what's going to
Absolutely.
happen. Yeah, like you don't know what the future holds at all. Not like we ever really do, right? Like we never really do. We have this like
We just think
false
we do.
we think we do, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't know what will happen. You don't know what will happen even later today or tomorrow. And we have to always trust. But I love that the Psalms are so encouraging. And I love that he just took you through it and just was with you, holding your
Walk
hand.
me through it.
Mm, so wonderful. That's the God we serve. That's the
Amen.
God we serve for sure. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Honestly, Connilyn, it's just such as a wonderful inspiration. Why don't you let our listeners know where the best place is where they can get this wonderful story and cry when they hit this song part, Splendor of the Land, and then also where's the best place that they can connect with you?
Okay. So I think the best deal on this book is going to be with Baker Bookhouse. They usually have all my books on 30% off. And so that's a really great place to go. And they're good about shipping too, which is wonderful. But then of course you can get it anywhere books are sold, and it's in paperback, it's in ebook, and it is in audiobook as well. And I love my narrators. They're wonderful. And so you can connect with me. Probably the best place is to go to my website, ConnilynCossette.com, and sign up for my newsletter. That's kind of my first line of communication, where you hear about upcoming books and what's going on in my life, and hear about giveaways and things like that. You can also find me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. One of my favorite places to connect with me is my private Facebook page, and it's called Connie Lynn's Bibliophiles. So just go to Facebook and do a search for Connie Lynn's Bibliophiles. And that's a place where I chat with my bibliophile friends, and we talk about what's coming up. They get some early sneak peeks sometimes, some background stuff, and they get to see my book covers early, which is fun. And sometimes when I have time, not right now because I'm on deadline, but sometimes I do some kind of historical lessons on some of the things that I have learned. Like last year, we talked about all of the festivals in the Bible and what those mean for us as Christians. And we've talked about food and archaeology and all kinds of fun things. So that's a great place to go to really connect with me a little bit more personal.
Oh, that is so fun. I love that you did a little thing about the festivals because I feel like there's so many different, like the feasts. Were you talking about like the Feast of
Yes.
Tabernacles and
Yep.
those kind of things? It's so neat to think about that and the significance,
It is.
because there's
That's actually where I kind of started studying this. Exodus was trying to figure out all about those festivals and what they mean and where the
yeah.
shadows of Jesus were in them. And so, yeah, they're very special to me because of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they're so relevant. They're still relevant, very
They
much so.
are,
Yeah.
and prophetic too.
Yes, very prophetic, 100%, especially Passover.
Yep.
Jesus became our Passover, right? I mean, it's
Yep.
very very relevant to New Testament, Old Testament. I love how it's just interwoven, and only God can do that, right? It's
That's
like,
right.
I mean, I can't remember. I have the different name for the same character, like only 5 chapters later,
Oh, I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I can't remember what's in the book that I wrote before. I have to go back and read it again because, like, I'll write a book and I'm done, and then I put it off, and then that one just gets brain dumped, and then I have to move on to the next one. So
Yes,
I forget.
100%. Thank God for Control F. Okay, so
Yes,
Control F. Where is this character? I
yes.
forget.
Where is it? What color eyes do they have?
Exactly, exactly. It's so funny. Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Connie Lynn. I will have all of those links, especially to your bibliophile on your like your Facebook group. That is so fun. I'm going to be joining
Yeah.
too.
Oh, please do.
I'll have those links in the show notes so everybody can just go right to the show notes, and it's very simple. I also love Baker Bookhouse. I do get books from them as well. I just love that. I didn't realize. I thought because of Baker Publishing Group, my initial thought was that they were affiliated with them, but they're not. They're like an independent
are an independent
bookstore.
bookstore.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love it. I
We do
love
have
it.
connections for sure, but it's not run by Baker Publishing.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, they accept some indie published books as well, which I think is just lovely. And they're just the way that they have everything laid out is very nice. But yes, thank you so much. And just thank you so much for your encouragement today and just sharing your heart, especially about your story and the wonderful way that God took you through it. It's just so inspiring. Thank you so much. It's been such a
Oh,
pleasure
thank
chatting.
you. Thank you. It's been great talking to you.
What a joy to share today's episode with you. I hope it encouraged your heart and inspired your love for stories that reflect God's grace and goodness. If you enjoyed our conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And because we're so grateful you're part of this community, we love to bless you with lots of books. Enter our latest giveaway by visiting ChristianRomancePodcast.com. That's ChristianRomancePodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, keep your faith, share the love, and happy reading.